Are you thinking about buying or selling a home in Florida? Whether you're considering your first home, relocating, downsizing, upsizing, moving out, moving on, or planning to acquire an income-producing property as an investment, Team Rock of Residential Movement Group is your real ownership connection. They are Florida Realtors Joanne Beepot, David Ham, and Ellen Marie Jean-Baptiste. For rock-solid professionalism and expertise in all aspects of real estate transactions, lean on Team Rock to help you accomplish all of your real estate goals. Contact Team Rock at 904-385-9169, offering you service in English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Haitian Creole at 904-385-9169. Also listen to Team Rock here on the Rock Real Estate Radio Show every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 a.m.
Everything discussed on air in this broadcast is for general information purposes only. For particular help with your real estate needs, contact our team of realtors for a complete individual consultation concerning your specific concerns. Furthermore, team members are realtors, not practicing lawyers or CPAs. Nothing discussed by anyone on the show shall be considered legal advice or tax advice.
What's up, everybody? This is Team Rock. The team will get you to the closing table. So let's get on the road and get started.
All right.
This is Ella Marie Jean-Baptiste. Our phone number is 904-385-9169. Today we're going to be talking about what to do to get you ready. So we do have our host with you. We have Joanne Beepot. Go ahead,
Hello,
Joanne.
everybody. Excited to be on this show today.
Yes, and I'm David Ham, part of your Real Ownership Connection.
And then we do have Mr. Vincent Powell with us from Freedom Mortgage. Go ahead, Vincent. What do you have to bring to the table today?
A lot of knowledge. Good morning, everyone. This is Vincent Powell from Freedom Mortgage, and I'm just excited to be here. Let's get started.
Awesome.
Right.
Joanne.
You want to talk about today's topic?
Yeah. Now, I want to explain why we chose today's topic. Today, we're going to talk about the loan process. You know, you want to get ready for your lender. You decided you want to own a home, and now you want to get yourself ready so that you can get that loan approved. So Vincent Powell from Freedom Mortgage is going to lead us down the path of everything that you will need to do to get prepared. He's also going to share with you why Freedom Mortgage is very special and why Vincent himself is an extremely effective and amazing loan officer. We've worked with him over many deals, and he always gets our customers to the closing table. So it's a delight, and we're very grateful that he's here with us to share all of the things that you can do.
I have to say something about Vincent myself because we have some nice experience, right, Vincent?
Yes.
Okay, some very wonderful experience. I don't want to say always, but 90% of the time I give Vincent my hard deal because I know that he have the knowledge and as well as the power to make it happen. That's why they call it Vincent Powell, but I call him Vincent Power because of the fact that he have the knowledge and the power to make it happen. No loan, like I said, no loan are the same, but I have to say I always have a hard time with the loan I send to Vincent. It can be a good customer, everything's fine, but the moment the loan go to Vincent, we're having some issues. So, Vincent, go ahead. Tell them a little bit about our history and then tell them about what you have to offer.
You want to talk about the loan process or?
Yeah, so the topic is really home loans from pre-approval to closing.
Okay.
We want to know all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the loan process from pre-approval to closing goes kind of like this. So once you're pre-approved, well, let me back up a little bit. Before you're pre-approved, there are certain documentation requirements that we need in order to get you pre-approved. Of course, we need a credit report. Our minimum credit score for FHA and VA is 600, and for conventional is 620. So that's the first step, is meeting the credit requirements. Then there's income asset documentation that's going to be required to get you pre-approved so that we can determine the dollar amount that you can be pre-approved for. So we'll review the income documentation. We'll review the asset documentation because we got to make sure that you have the ability to purchase as far as the income, which is the capacity to purchase, you can sustain a mortgage payment, and the assets that you can come up with the down payment and the closing costs. So once we get all that squared away, we'll issue a pre-approval based on the documentation that we reviewed. So once you get that pre-approval, then you take that pre-approval to your realtor, and then you find a home within that price range of the pre-approval. So many times we'll issue a pre-approval, and you'll probably find a home in that price range or under. A lot of times on a pre-approval letter, we'll put $300,000 or under. So once you find a home or find a property, you'll go into contract.
Okay, so Vincent, I've heard, a lot of people talk in terms of pre-qualification. Some people talk in terms of pre-approval. Can you explain to our listeners the difference between a pre-qualification and pre-approval?
Sure. It's simple. A pre-qualification and a pre-approval are two different things. So a pre-approval is basically a loan officer gathering your information and running it through a system called Desktop Underwriter. Every lender uses it. It's through Fannie Mae. It's called Desktop Underwriter, and if the system accepts the information that's put in, then it'll come back with the finding of approved eligible. So if you have an approved eligible and everything else meets the program guidelines, then you can issue a pre-approval right then and there. The problem with that is the integrity of the information that's entered into the system. So we have to make sure that we're entering the proper information. So that's the pre-approval. We can spit out a pre-approval letter. The pre-qualification means it goes to an underwriter for review. And what we call it FAB. It's a Freedom Advantage buyer. So, and we put them out a letter that it actually states that this loan has been reviewed by an underwriter. You have an advantage on other, when you're in a competitive market like we are now. And everything is reviewed by an underwriter. So I rarely send loans to be reviewed for a FAB because I have 15 years of underwriting experience. So I just kind of know what needs to be done in order to be pre-approved. So my pre-approvals, I rarely have a loan that I send a pre-approval on and then it goes to underwriting and gets denied. So I can't think of a case, maybe once.
In 15 years, that's pretty good. Because that's a good track record.
Let me just elaborate a little bit for you guys. A pre-approval is when, I love the word pre-approval, is when you send all of your information, because usually the pre-qualification, like Vincent said, you call him under the phone or you go online, you fill out the application, you put your information, and then they give you a pre-qualification. That means based on the information you provided, you are qualified for X amount of dollars. However, we need to have your pay stub, your bank statement, all of the information that the lender will need for them to your document in order for them to know that you are pre-approved. So those are the information that we usually require. Usually when we meet with a customer, we ask them to get this document ready for us because the lender gonna need it, because after they give you the pre-qualification, you go hunt for house, you go shopping for a house, and then the moment you find your house, you only have 5 days to give those information to your lender for the lender to go ahead and start doing the information. And then with that 5 days, if you don't provide that information, your binding deposit, you may lose your binding deposit because now it becomes your fault not to get those information to the lender for the lender to be able to pre-approve, quote unquote, pre-approve you, knowing based on the information you have. Yeah. And then like I tell to my customer, just because you have perfect credit, you have a great job, doesn't mean that you pre-approve for a loan, because the lender have to look at your debt to income ratio, they have to look at your income, they have to look at your tax return. All that has to be involved in order for them to say that, yes, you're truly pre-approved with the loan. One question I do have for Vincent. I have customers who call me all the time and then they're asking me, what is the difference between a FHA and a conventional loan? Can you elaborate for us, what is the difference between those two?
So conventional loans was the traditional source of financing for many years. They're backed by two agencies, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those are the investors, and they have their guidelines and rules that they follow. So those are the investors for conventional loans. And then FHA loan is backed by the
By Fannie Mac, Fannie?
No, Housing and Urban Development.
Housing and Urban Development.
So it's a government loan, and of course they have different guidelines for these loans. For FHA and VA loans are government loans. So those are the differences. It's just the investor.
Usually people who have FHA are people who first time home.
Because the reason being because FHA requires a lower down payment.
Lower down payment for
3.5%, and conventional loans is generally 5%. In some cases, it's 3%, but generally it's 5%. So a lot of first-time home buyers will tend to lean towards the FHA loan. Yes.
Now, does the debt ratio make a difference on both loans? Because
the debt ratio plays a big factor into when we get a borrower and we determining what loan we want to take them, because the maximum debt ratio for a conventional loan is 50%, and the FHA loan, it just depends if it can go
all the way to 50.
I've seen them go all the way up to 56.9, just depending on the credit and
the assets they have in the bank
and things like that.
So there's more flexibility with the
FHA
there's
loan. More flexibility.
There's definitely more flexibility with the FHA loan than it is conventional loan. Conventional, the credit score requirement is 620. However, not a lot of loans goes through the desktop underwriter with the 620. So a lot of the conventional loans are in the high
650, 700. Yeah, and then also the conventional loan is more like just because it gives you less money than the FHA because I have people who not really less money because of the fact the debt to income ratio can go to a certain amount, so they can give you less money for your dollar for when you come to buying a house, right?
Right, but the conventional comes into play when you're dealing with certain property types like condominiums, because you can do lender project approval for condominiums. All condominium projects have to go through a process called project approval. And for a conventional, the lender can gather documentation from the homeowners association. But for FHA, it has to be on the approved list, and not a lot of condominiums are on the FHA approved list.
Very
now,
true.
I know that we could probably talk for an extended period of time over the selection process of what type of loan for a borrower. But I want to back up a little bit. We were talking about pre-approvals, pre-qualification. Could you tell from the lender's perspective, I already know from the realtor's perspective, what the advantage is for the buyer in going through that process? And then can you also talk to those prospective buyers who are afraid of the process?
We get a ton of buyers that are afraid of the process. They're afraid for us to pull the credit, but we just tell them that there's no way to know unless we get started. It's just like learning how to swim. The only way you're going to learn is if you get in the water. So
I did get to swim in the air. I don't know about you. I swim in the air always, so I don't know about you. So I'm an air swimmer. So
you swim in the air.
Yes.
Wow, y'all can't see that on the radio. He's demonstrating in the booth.
Yeah, I don't do water.
I'm in the same club with you.
Yes, we don't do water. The moment is above my knee, that's the fall.
Swimming was my passion. I was MVP for a swim team in high school, so
power
that's my
to you,
passion. I was
David.
a lifeguard and all that good stuff.
yeah.
But
With
go ahead,
the-
Vincent.
Okay, let's go back
So you have to
to
get in the water, right?
yes,
Okay.
get in the water.
Actually, believe it or not, that was for me one of the getting psychologically prepared to get in the water. Every meet, every practice, I had to psych myself up to get in the water. As much as I love the water, as much as I love swimming, I had to get psyched up just to get in.
Right. So,
Okay.
as far as pre-approvals are concerned, it gives the borrower an advantage when you're bidding. If you got one borrower that doesn't have pre-approval and you have another one that does, of course,
Of course,
Of
they're
course,
going
it's
to choose the
essential.
one
The one that
with the
has
approval
Absolutely.
letter.
Right.
And that's what I want to mention, because don't get offended if we as your realtors are telling you, please get a pre-approval. We're asking to see your pre-approval letter, because this is a very, very competitive market that we're in. If you find a house that you love and you must have that house, and now we have to take the time to try to get you a pre-approval,
Especially
then
in
there,
the
you can-
weekend, yeah.
you can
in the
lose
weekend,
that
you find
that
the house
really
you like.
want.
It's
Yeah.
hard for us, for
We
the
attach
lender,
it
Yeah.
right
for
to
the lender to
offer.
find you a pre-approval right then and there.
Exactly. So that's
Especially right
why-
now, the inventory is so low. By the time we find that letter
They've got
to
other
send
offers
it,
on
somebody else already get the house. So
So
it's
let's set you up for success.
like I tell
when
people.
you meet with us, the first thing we're going to get you to do is to go get that pre-approval letter with Vincent, with one of our lenders, so that you can be armed and ready to get that home under contract when you find a house that you love that we make an offer on. So that's critical. Don't be offended by us asking you to do it. It's just a part of the process.
Yeah,
these days.
before you start walking, you need to learn how to call. So therefore, the calling process is the pre-approval.
Yes,
I have
absolutely.
something I have to mention for my auditors listening. For my experience as a realtor, we know that there is really 6 steps in a mortgage approval process. Those 6 steps are, and I'm going to give you those 6 steps, and I'm going to elaborate one by one by asking Vincent question, and then he will be able to explain those 6 steps for you. The first step we already talked about is the pre-approval process. So you need to be pre-approved in order for us to show you houses. So, and then because we're a realtor, our reputation is on the line. We've got a special key to open somebody's door to get to somebody's house. So therefore, the seller, put yourself in the seller's shoes. We need to have those information in order for us to open your house, to open your door. So the first one we already talked about it. The second step is the house hunting. That's for the realtor process.
Absolutely.
So we start looking for houses for you until you find your dream home. Like we tell to all of our customers, we're not going to be the one making the mortgage payment. So therefore,
Be
you
happy
have
with
to
what you
find a
get.
house that you are in love with, a house you cannot live without, because that is the biggest investment you're about to make. So you need to be able to feel comfortable in the house you have. So the second one, when we find a house you are in love with, we're still on the second one. When you find a house you are so in love with, as a realtor now, we send a purchase agreement offer to the seller. And then back and forth, there is a lot of things going on in that. We don't have time to explain you the back and forth between the seller and you and us. So let's say that the back and forth with the offer, you like it, I don't like it, you like it, no, I want this, no, I don't want that, this is what I want. Those are the process that go in the offer. Let's say that if everything is done, we like the house, the seller agreed to sell it to you, becoming under a contract. So that's when we're going to send that contract to Vincent for Vincent to start his process, which is that's when Vincent gonna gather all of the information. He's gonna gather for them to do appraisal and a quotation. I'm gonna say what appraisal is. I have customers who tell me, oh my God, I don't want to buy the house, and then I find out the house doesn't worth it. That is the reason why the lender have appraisal. There is no way the lender gonna lend you money for a house that is overpriced. So when the appraisal comes, this is the good thing about it, guys. If the house is overpriced, let's say that you buy a house for $250,000, and then the appraisal come out to $245,000, the seller have to put the price down for you to buy it for $245,000. Guess what? If the appraisal come out for $260,000, the seller have to sell it for you to $250,000. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
It does.
you gain both way.
Right.
So that is what Vincent is. So before we step to the other one, so I'm going to let Vincent talk a little bit more about appraisal process, what is in the appraisal for the customer to be except for what I just say, but I just want you to elaborate a little bit more because I don't want to step into your job. I don't do loan.
Please.
So I'm going to let you do your loan process because let's do it.
Okay, so once we get the purchase contract, that's pretty much when the actual loan application starts. Once we get the contract, we can lock an interest rate. We can gather all the necessary documentation that we need to get it into underwriting. So what we like to do is get all the documentation up front. So there may be some of the documentation that we received at the time of pre-approval that may be expired, depending on how long it took to find a home.
Find a house. Such as your bank statement, bank statement,
pay
stub,
stuff like that.
Tax returns, etc.
Yeah.
So we will review the documentation that we already have against knowing what we need, and then we'll send out another list of items that we need. We'll gather that information, and we'll also gather credit card information so that we can order your appraisal. It just depends. The cost of the appraisal, it varies. VA loans is around $500. FHA is somewhere between $500 and $550. Conventional loans is around $500. So this has to be paid up front by the customer. So what we do is we'll order the appraisal. Once that appraisal comes back, we'll review it to, of course, see if the value is supported or if there's any repairs needed that the appraiser recommends or requires. So once we get that and the appraisal is clean, or if it needs repairs, then we have to go back to the agents and have them, hey, we need, they got wood rot around the garage door, so they'll have to fix that, and then we'll have to do what we call a final inspection, send that same appraiser back out to sign off on it and say, to say that the property is acceptable. And once we get that, then the value's good, everything is good, and we have everything we need to send that file to the underwriter. The file goes into underwriting for what we call a conditional approval. The underwriter will condition for things depending on what they saw in the file. And then once we get that conditional approval, then we can work on the conditions from the approval. We like to get mostly everything up front. So once our approvals come out, there may be 2 or 3 things that we need. We get those 2 or 3 things, and then we can send it back to underwriting for a clear to close. Now,
before we go further, because you're jumping to all of my step right now. Vincent give you the whole entire system. He give me the whole step, guys. So my job is done.
It's his topic.
Yeah.
My job is done.
Well, I had a question for you there, Vincent. So you've very thoroughly explained the process, but I had some questions about the reasonings for our listeners to understand why it is that the appraisal is conducted. Because the home is going to be a security for this loan, right?
Right.
And they have to make sure the value. So I don't want to step on your toes there. Can you explain why that's done? Why the appraisal? Why everything?
Especially on purchase loans, appraisals are required. It's one of the requirements of the investor. They want to make sure that the property value is there, and we're not lending on something that's not acceptable. We have to make sure that the property type is acceptable for the program. Certain programs have restrictions on property types. So we just have to make sure, and the appraisal will tell us all of this. It'll tell us if it's the zoning, if it's zoned properly. It'll tell us, the type of structure it is. It'll have photos and
the survey, right? You got the survey on it? No, I don't know.
No, you have you do have a sketch addendum and a area photo map of the property
house
in the area, and a map addendum of the surrounding areas with the comparables on the grid. But it's just protection for the lender, because we want to make sure that we're not lending on something that's unacceptable. So.
No,
that makes a lot of sense.
So along those lines, I just want to flesh something out here. that people, when they get a mortgage, they're borrowing, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so that's one of the reasons why you have to do that in-depth background, get the documentation for their income, and get all the information concerning their credit, is because there's a lot of money being lent here. Mm-hmm. And I've been to countries, I've spent time in countries where they don't have that lending, and you have to basically be able to buy a house cash if you want to buy a house, or either get finance from the owner, basically working it off.
Right.
That deal. Right. So I think that, the system that we have here is one that, maybe some first-time home buyers, some people may not really understand the process. They hear about a mortgage, but they don't understand necessarily that that's a loan, and the security, the mortgage is the security, and that the note is the loan. So,
right.
Yeah. And I also have to say that I need to buy my listeners and my customers to understand, we're not trying to bug at you when we keep asking you for the same information over and over and over.
Yeah.
You have to understand, when you're lending somebody $500, you need to know when you're going to get your money back, how you're going to get it back, all that. Can you imagine for the lender who's going to lend you $200,000, $300,000, they want to know how you're going to get paid, you're going to pay that loan back. So that's the reason we ask you information over and over, not because we don't know what we're doing. Let me tell you, we have somebody who's in our back asking us for that information. So therefore, we need to get that information as well.
Yep. And then I wanted to key on the importance of just getting your financial act together while you're heading to a lender. So as Ella mentioned earlier, take the time to get your tax returns together. Take the time to get, your pay stubs together, all of the things that are going to be required so nothing holds up the process. Because in the purchase and sales offer that's going to be submitted, that ultimately, once accepted by the seller and signed, becomes a contract, there are going to be days that you have to do a formal loan application with the lender. Now, Team Rock, Ella, David, and I, we all choose the partners who can get you to the closing table. And Vincent is absolutely one of those partners. But you can help us and help yourselves just by getting organized with all of the paperwork that you need in the background.
Yes.
Okay, we talk about the appraisal already. So now let's talk a little bit about, Vincent already tapped on the loan process, the mortgage process program. So we're gonna be more in depth into it, because the mortgage process, guys, is a lot thing in the background you don't see that we are doing. And then one thing I like about Vincent, if I'm working, he's working.
Mm-hmm. He's always available.
Oh my God, that's what I like about him.
That's what makes him such a great partner to
if
work
I'm
with.
working, he's working. And then guess what, guys? I work on late.
Yeah.
10 o'clock, 10:30, at 8
the funny
p.m.
thing is he'll respond. It's like,
Sometimes I
he's
send an
incredible.
email expecting to answer tomorrow.
Yeah.
You should email back and
Right.
say, "Oh, you up? Okay, so let me ask my questions."
Yeah. Well,
So-
let's give Vincent a chance to talk about Freedom Mortgage.
Yes.
Why Freedom Mortgage and why
Why
Vincent
Freedom is the best
and then
lender.
Why Vincent? We
Why
know
you?
by working with Vincent how great he is, but Vincent, this is your floor to let everyone know why Freedom Mortgage and why you.
Okay. Freedom Mortgage, we just had a record month. It closed $11 billion in loans in July. Yeah.
Wow.
And-
He's taking us to lunch
That's
today,
awesome.
so guys.
Billion with a B.
And
Wow.
my group alone is called the Home Team of Freedom Mortgage. We closed over 400 loans in 5 states. So we are in the business of closing loans. Myself, I was over $1 million again.
Congrats.
I mean, we get the loans to the closing table. We work as a team. A lot of people don't know this, but there's 2 types of approval. You have a system approval, and then you have manual underwriting. So once we get the loan in, a lot of lenders will deny a customer because it doesn't go through the system. But we can do what we call manual underwriting. That means the underwriter can kind of, look at the merits of the file and do some make sense underwriting. So that allows us to close a lot of loans as well, because we can do a lot of loans that other lenders won't do. So
Let me say that I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. I have to say that, Vincent, we got loan that, right now I have a loan that lender denied, and then we now get it approved, right? And then we closing next week on that loan. So I have to say that hopefully next week. You should see that. Hopefully this week, because those loans are like trouble loan, very hard loan. That's the reason I love working with Vincent.
And that's a lot of the customers that we have. I mean, I just, if a lender if you've been denied by another lender, that doesn't mean that you can't realize a dream of home ownership. You can give us a shot. Myself, I'll look at your information and see if it's something that we can do. If not, then I can kind of guide you to the way that we can get it to be an acceptable loan. And I don't mind doing that. It's refinances, purchases. August is going to be probably a record month for a lot of lenders. It's just very, very busy out there. And we're right in the middle of it, closing loans. We're going to close more than the amount of loans that we closed in July. So it's just, it's just a great place to be. And they give us the support that we need as far as marketing and things like that. So, partnering with realtors and things like that, that's no problem. So we do have the staff that can accommodate the volume.
That's awesome.
And we have the people that they have the desire to close the loan. So even the underwriting team, they want to make sure that the loans are underwritten and that it's an acceptable risk, but they don't go overboard with it.
With the closing,
the conditions and things like that. So we work well together, and a lot of the underwriters that are underwriting the loans now, I used to work with them just last year, so I know
what they like.
What they like and things like that.
That's
so.
really awesome.
Yeah, that's good. Go ahead.
I was just thinking that a lot of you out there, you've decided that you want to buy a home, and now you're dealing with a realtor, and now you're deciding, who do I develop a relationship with? Which lender do I select? I can tell you that beyond having wonderful realtors like you have with Team Rock, the person that you choose or the business entity that you choose for your loan is a critical piece of getting you to that closing table.
Exactly.
I've had customers who said, well, I went on the internet, not saying anything against internet lenders, right? Because of this rate. It's more than just a rate. It is the quality of the service, is how long it takes them to close your loan, the information that's going to be required of you, and having somebody who can go to bat for you when things pop up. It is a big piece of the equation that you should be looking at when selecting a lender. And that's the thing that Vincent mentioned. Even though the volume is up, they can still close loans in a reasonable period of time. I've been talking to some lenders who the volume was up, and they're going to 6, 7, 8 weeks to closing. So you've got to understand a whole bunch of factors up front, not just that they have a great rate or that their credit requirements, the credit score requirements are lower, so you're going to go that way. But again, Ella, David, and I can guide you because we deal with lenders who can get you there.
You have a team. That's the reason our team name is WALK, not just because when I call it WALK, is because we really walk. The reason we said that is because we are very knowledgeable. That's number one. And then we choose people in our circle. You're going to meet our circle soon if you stay tuned. That not only passionate for what they are doing, but they also want to help. Those are the people that we are in our circle. So this is who we are. And Vincent is a great lender. I like working with him. He worked 11 o'clock at night. Doesn't mean you need to call him at the time, but he worked when he sit down. If he said he's gonna deliver, he's gonna deliver. That's what I like about him.
And he goes to bat for you. He really
does.
He'll find as many ways that he can legally possible to get you to that closing table.
Exactly.
I have to put that in, right?
Legally possible. Yes, legally possible. Yeah, legally and financial possible.
And if not, he'll give you the guidance to say, okay, fix this, and within a certain time frame, you can be on this road, and Ella, Joanne, and David could be showing you homes, and you're going to be happy at that closing table. So that's what makes Vincent and Freedom Mortgage so special.
I want to back up but talk a little bit about the timeliness, as you mentioned. And I've seen Vincent and his timely responses. And one of the reasons why that's so important is that once an offer has been accepted, time is of the essence.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
And there's timetables set out in that contract that items have to be performed by that time. Otherwise, the contract is
void. Yeah.
void. Yeah, exactly. So you have to provide the information as a buyer. You're going to have to provide that information when you get that call. Don't just wait and say, oh, well, I'll get back to my realtor whenever. I'll get back to Vincent whenever. You also, as a buyer, have to be on the ball and get things in timely and respond timely in order for this process to get to the closing table.
And the other reason why time isn't in essence, that's depend of the seller you find if you're buying a house. Some seller will tell you black and white, if we're supposed to close in 45 days, we don't close in 45 days, we're gonna charge you per diem. And then a lot of buyer doesn't want that, and they have the right to do that because they know that our buyers they don't like to send the information on time. So now they start charging you every day that you don't close. They're charging you X amount of dollars. So we don't want you to be charged. We don't want them to charge you that money. So when we call you and then we tell you we need that information from you, it's not because that you have your time whenever you can, you're going to bring it. Oh, they're not doing anything. Let me do that. I mean, I'm working. But you don't understand that you're putting your loan in jeopardy, and then you may eventually lose that house because you have to understand you're not the only one who like that house.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Along those lines, that per diem is one penalty, but another more severe penalty is when you're outside of the time period and they decide not to extend.
Exactly.
You want to extend it and they don't.
Absolutely hate having to
Ask for extension.
Based on avoidable reasons.
And then if the extension is because something valuable, okay, we go for it.
Right,
but if the extension is just because,
you didn't get your paperwork in on time, you didn't get the loan officer. You have to realize we're working as a coordinated team, which each team member having to do what they need to do within specific time frames in order to move the bar forward. And you're a big part of that because once you're on the road with us, you've got to get all of the things that Vincent needs so he can get all of his time frames, because when he gets his info, it starts a whole checklist of items and timelines of other things that trigger from getting your info. And if you have not submitted a critical piece of that, it brings the whole process to a halt. And then all of a sudden, closing that's in that contract of 30, 45 days now becomes looking like more like 60 days. And that's not good.
And then seller doesn't like to keep the house under contract for 60 days for nobody.
It's not bugging you. It's just gently prodding you to get what you need done for your benefit of being in this beautiful home of your dreams that you've always dreamed on. It's waiting for you. The key is waiting, but just definitely do your part. The other thing I wanted to mention was listen to your lender. That once you put that loan application in, the lender and, of course, your realtors become your best friends. And what do I mean by that? It's don't buy anything.
Tell them the truth.
Do not buy anything on credit. Don't do anything. Pay down the bill.
Be upfront.
If you're even thinking about pulling out that credit card, window shopping until that loan is done. Just no big purchases, no small purchases, unless you want to clear it. Just be very, very conservative because everything impacts your debt ratio. Don't pay off a card without talking to your lender, because paying off a card can sometimes drop your credit score, not increase it as many of us think. So everything that you want to do credit-wise, you've got to talk to your lender. Hey, Vincent, you know what? I'm thinking of doing this. What impact will it have on me? It's just a short period of time to sacrifice. Once in your home, your credit cards are still going to be there. Your credit access is going to be there. But during this time, we ask you to be very, very, very conservative and make Vincent your confidant, which the credit needs that you may have to utilize so that he can make sure your loan is going to stay on track. Vincent, what do you think?
We see it all the time. We get clients saying once we get the contract and then we'll ask for a list of documentation, and, sometimes they are not on the ball with getting it back to us in a timely manner. then it kind of delays stuff because we can't move it to the next stage. I can't turn in an application that's incomplete. We have to, because once it gets to underwriting, then they're going to end up suspending the loan or doing something like that. So we want to get a package as complete as possible before we even send it in. So, if we spend a week trying to get documentation, then that's a week that we lost. And it's like. And
then now 1 week, when you lost 1 week, guess what happened? It's 3 weeks for the underwriting because everything is 24 hours for them. So, and then you have to understand, like Vincent just said, they have a volume of loan to do. So don't think that is the only loan they have to do. So the more you send the information when you send it, they're going to send it to underwriting. It doesn't work like that. When you send it now, guess what? Your loan go in the back of the loan. So when you are first, because we were waiting for that information from you in 24 hours, you take 48 hours to send it. Guess what? Your loan now go to the back lane. So now until we receive that information, we cannot send it back because it's going to come out denied. And then that's the word we don't like as a realtor.
Particularly if it's avoidable. If it's a solution, if it's avoidable, it's not anything in your credit history. It's just that you didn't turn it in on time. But also, Vincent, I was thinking about just, making them be very conservative during this period of loan time. Can you expand upon that? Not spending.
Oh, definitely. We advise the customers not to really purchase anything. I mean, if you turn in a bank statement and it has $6,000 in the bank account, and then you go buy a television for $500, now you no longer have $6,000. That's what we based our underwriting decision on. Mm-hmm. So it can, even though that's not affecting your debt ratio, but it can, the system may have been approved because you had a certain amount of reserves. So, and now you don't have that, and then. Or
you go swap your credit card to buy something, is no longer, your debt to income shot to the roof now.
And then what happens before a loan goes to closing, we have this thing called fraud guard, and then what it does is it pulls a soft pull to see if there's any new debt that undisclosed debt. It's called undisclosed debt monitoring, and it'll pull if, you went to...
There's an alert that comes.
There's an alert that comes if you went to Badcock and went and got some furniture. You went to... if you bought an automobile...
Believe it. We know it.
It happens all the time, and we tell these people, you can't do this. Oh, it was, it's just...
It was Black Friday, so that wasn't sell.
Can wait.
But
it has to wait.
I tell my customers, you are not gonna have a washer and dryer if you don't have a house.
Right.
So wait for the house so you to get the washer and dryer.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter what the sell is.
Step one.
Wait for your house because what you gonna do with the washer and dryer if the house they don't get
house, right?
And the sad part is, and we say it, and we say it and we say it and say it. But Vincent, how many times, and Ella, have you seen people who, right before closing, they go buy something major.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you can't close because the lender, like Vincent's saying, is going to double check right before you close because they want to make sure that who you said you were, what you said you had, you still have. And you're still at those ratios. Now, all of a sudden, they have different ratios. Guess what? Everything, you've just thrown a whole wrench in the system. And now Vincent has to.
What we have to do is... Once we have situations like that, it has to go back to underwriting, and that's a whole process.
Another 30 days.
Even if it's a minimal amount, any changes, it has to go back to underwriting for them to reapprove it based on the new debt. Even if you are able to qualify with it, it's still going to be a delay.
Have to go, and then that's another time. The other thing I tell my customers, to Vincent, you can elaborate on that. Do not, I put a big capital letter and bullet. Do not put cash in your account when you are doing loan. I don't care if it's $50 cash.
Right.
When I say cash, not your paycheck that can be
deposited
or that you can see, you can show like a slip for it. But if somebody give you $5,000 cash or somebody owe you money and then you go take that money and put it in the account, again, guys, please don't do that. If you want a real estate agent or a lender to speak a different language that is not speaking in tongue to you, is doing those mistakes that should not be made.
And that's why talk to your lender. They will guide you every step. Hey, I've got money to deposit. What do you want me to do?
Right.
Vincent will tell you the way that it will need to be done in order so that your loan will still be very, very smooth. But so talk to your lender about everything.
If you have the money under your
financial from the
mattress,
time.
put it in the account before you get
There
pre-approval.
are people who
Yeah.
do have that.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah.
Okay, so earlier in the program, you talked about difference between the FHA and conventional, and we were starting to get into a conversation about the different types of loans available. And I was wondering if you could speak some more about the loan programs that Freedom Mortgage offers, and what can you offer people who contact you?
Okay. We offer a wide range of loan products, from conventional, FHA, even USDA in rural areas, VA loans for veterans, active duty, and reservists. We offer jumbo loans, non-conforming loans. If you have high loan amounts or high purchase prices, things like that, over the conforming loan limit, we offer jumbo products for those buyers as well. Any kind of loan that can be done on a residential basis, we can do it. We have a lot of self-employed customers as well. We have, lending for self-employed. We can underwrite those files. We can underwrite those borrowers. That's not a problem. Pretty much anything that you need that we can tailor it, we got something for you. So just give us a
That's
call.
awesome.
You're telling me.
That's
Can you
good.
talk a little bit more about the self-employed people, and what type of records would they need? How do they keep their records to show their income?
Okay. With self-employed, the underwriter is going to look at the most recent 2 years of tax returns, and they're going to look at a year-to-date profit and loss statement. The year-to-date profit and loss statement doesn't have to be audited or CPA prepared. It can just be something that
You
the
prepare
customer
yourself, yeah.
prepares themselves, just to make sure they're still in line with the income that was on the most recent 2 years tax returns. They're going to
The
also
other thing we need to make sure for the people who are self-employed, make sure that you don't deduct everything in your income,
Right.
so you
Exactly,
don't
'cause you
write off
can't have it
everything,
both
because
ways.
you cannot tell IRS you're making $10,000 for the year and then think you can buy a house or $300,000.
Right.
So get with a CPA, let your CPA or tax preparer, let them know that you're in the process of buying a house. They know what to do or to get you, because you're going to have to pay taxes. You're going to have to show that you pay, you have the money that you're showing that
Right.
you are making. So again, all of those information, I know we are out of time. We're going to be out of time. You can give us a call.
It's good.
To give us a call, we can sit down with you, do what we call that a consultation, buyer consultation with you, so we can give you more information about that. Vincent, you can provide, before we wrap up, you can provide your phone number
And
so
the best
people
way
can
to reach you.
The best way to reach me is by cell phone, and that phone number is 904-534-7823. That's 904-534-7823.
And it's Vincent Powell of Freedom Mortgage, a great guy to partner with to get to the closing table.
Okay, before we have a few minutes left, we want to mention our sellers. That's the reason we decided to. We want to mention to our sellers who want to sell their home, or they want to update or upgrade it or downgrade it, or refinancing. All of those things Vincent does as well for refinance. So if you're in the market to refinance your house because your interest was too high when you bought it, and then right now the interest rate, Vincent, is about 3.something%, very low than what it was before. So Vincent can help you on that. He provides his number already. And then also, if you're a seller and then you feel like you want to sell your house, and then you want to know exactly what your house worth, and then how much money you can get, what's going on, any question, give us a call. Teamwork, we do that as well. We provide a free CMA, or we call it
Comparative market analysis.
A free valuation
report. We can sit down with you and explain to you what you can do in your house, get you a good inspector who can give you a good inspection to let you know what you need to fix, what not to fix, in order for your house to value the price you need it to be valued at. We can sit down with you and then give you all of those tips when it comes to selling your home. And teamwork is here. I'm going to let David say a little bit about it, and then Joanne will say a little bit about it before
we
go ahead,
wrap up.
David.
Okay, well, you've been listening to us, the Team Rock, and we call ourselves that in part because we rock with the K, but it's Real Ownership Connection. We are your Real Ownership Connection. We're the team that gets you to the closing table. And our number, Ella's going to give it to you in a bit here. And give us a call. Reach out to us. Besides calling us, you can also reach us an email at teamrockfl@gmail.com. And you can go on to Facebook. We have a Facebook page out there and YouTube channel. Please give us your likes. Please subscribe. And we really love to hear from you. Even if you just want to tell us that you're listening, we're glad to hear that. So when Ella gives you the number, give us a call and let us know.
What about you, Joanne? What do you have to bring to the table?
What I'm bringing to the table is the passion to get each and every one of you to the closing table. I cannot tell you how important it is to make real estate a big part of your financial portfolio and leaving a legacy for your family. And that's what Team Rock is all about. Grow your wealth, start your wealth, leave some legacies through real estate. Stop making other people rich. Instead, grow your own portfolio for your success and for your generations to come in your family. So, Team Rock, we're here to get you to the closing table, and we're ready to get started.
What about you, Vincent? Go ahead and give your number again one more time before we go out.
It's 904-534-7823. That's 904-534-7823.
Hey guys, like David mentioned, we can subscribe to us guys in Facebook. We are in Facebook, and then most of the time our information go down in Facebook. We update our information every day. We give some free tip how to get your house in order for you to sell it, how to get your house yourself in order for you to buy, how to be prepared in order for you to either come to the market. You don't have to be your credit doesn't have to be ready right now. We give you what we call that a prescription. I like talking about my prescription to my customers in order for them to be ready. And also you can reach us either on Facebook, YouTube, or you can call us. Our phone number is 904-385-9169. 904-385-9165, or you can email us at teamworkfl@gmail.com, teamworkfl@gmail.com, team teamrockfl@gmail.com, or you can reach me, Ella Marie Jean Baptiste. You can reach Miss Joanne Beepot or David Ham. And we'll be more than happy to sit down with you guys and explain to you how to get to the level you want to get. Okay, guys? Yes. Anybody has something to say before we... Can you talk a little... Go ahead. Can you talk a little bit about refinance? Because the platform is yours.
Definitely. Rates are at an all-time low right now. If you have not already looked into refinancing, please give us a call because we're virtually reducing terms and the interest rates, and people are, going from 30 to a 15, and the payments not increasing at all because the interest rates are so low. We're doing streamlined refinances for FHA. We're doing VA IRRRLs for customers that have VA loans already, and it's just a huge market out there for refinancing because the rates are so low. I mean, I've seen, the last probably 10 loans that I locked in have been under 3%.
It's incredible.
We're talking 2.75, 2.875, things like that. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a good time if you want to have your mortgage reviewed, just let us take a look at it and see what we could do. And I promise you will be able to make a difference.
Now, a lot of people want to do it, but then they're afraid of the closing costs associated with the loans. How do you treat those in refinancing?
Well, there are costs that are associated with the loans. A lot of times we can roll in the closing costs into the loan amount to make sure that we have none or a minimal cash to close at closing. So we just have to look at each situation is different, and it's a lot of variables that go into that. And if you got equity
in your house as well, that can be a good advantage for you to take that money
and
use it. You don't only refinance, you don't only refinance for just to reduce your interest rate. You refinance to get money out, to remodel, refinance because there's a lot of reason. But I'm not in a loan because I don't want to say too much about loan process. Call Vincent. Vincent will give you all of the reason what is the best step, what is exactly you need to do for you to be able to get to the closing table if you decided to refinance. We are realtor. We don't do refinance, but I don't do refinance.
But it makes sense.
It makes sense for you.
It makes sense because you can upgrade into a new home. You can buy your first investment property. You can do a fix and flip or a rental. So your home becomes the basis of growing your wealth.
Right.
And you start with your lender to see what your net worth is, and from that point on, it can skyrocket in a positive way.
What do you have to say, David? You don't have that? Oh, wow. The cat took his tongue, guys.
You're so surprised. So, so surprised. I think you've really been hitting it. You're hitting every major point there. And, if anybody else has
guys, as you said, David never stopped talking. So if he's not talking now...
Wait. Are you serious? I am a person who has...
But it's
that's not true. If they said Vincent is a man of few words, I will definitely say that. As you can see, I can hear, guys, you're not in the studio with us. We're literally pulling teeth right now, and then I have my pliers on trying to pull the teeth out to get something out of him. But just because he's a man of few words doesn't mean that he's not a man who's going to put his foot down, his hand on the fire for you guys to get you to the loan you have to be, regardless if it's refinance or whatever it is going to get you to the table. He doesn't talk, but he is the man who's going to work.
I have to disagree with that. He is a man of words that have substance.
Yes.
And it gets you there.
Exactly. Few words, but substantial words. That's the way you come in. But David is a man with a lot of words.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to have a debate on that.
But anyway, guys.
And I'll call in others to defend me on that one. Speaking of others that I'll call, next week we expect to have with us our credit repair expert.
Yes.
Mr.
Mark Calvi. And then we're also going to have another loan officer with us. Her name is Sophia Davis Wallace, or Wallace David. If she's listening, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. So she's going to be with us, and then she's Jamaican. So for all of my Jamaican or island people, to stay tuned for next Saturday. So Sophia gonna be there with you guys. Anyway, it's
we want to thank Vincent.
We want to thank Vincent
with us. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
This is Ella Marie Jean Baptiste, and then we have
Joanne Beepot of Team Rock
and
David Ham, the man of few words.
And then our phone number again, guys, is 904-385-9169. We are Team Rock. We'll get you to the closing table. So get on the road, guys, and get started. It was nice, guys, talking to you. Until next time, have a good day.
Thank you. Take care.
Are you thinking about buying or selling a home in Florida? Whether you're considering your first home, relocating, downsizing, upsizing, moving out, moving on, or planning to acquire an income-producing property as an investment, Team Rock of Residential Movement Group is your real ownership connection. They are Florida Realtors, Joanne Beepot, David Ham, and Ellen Marie Jean Baptiste. For rock-solid professionalism and expertise in all aspects of real estate transactions, lean on Team Rock to help you accomplish all of your real estate goals. Contact Team Rock at 904-385-9169, offering you service in English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Haitian Creole at 904-385-9169. Also listen to Team Rock here on the Rock Real Estate Radio Show every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 a.m.